should know that this is not a new policy that being introduced by this government overnight, because some people thought that this is a new policy that being imposed by this new government, and it has been formulated overnight. This is not true. It's a continuation of all this research that have been done by the administration of Ministry of Education during the previous years, since the year 2014. It's part of the revision of the curriculum then, and after the series of engagement with experts, engagement with few interested parties, they have came up with this introduction of khat to Bahasa Melayu subject that been taught not only to SJKC but also to Sekolah Kebangsaan. But when we look at this issue, for me, I'm trying to look at it with an eagle eye view. If you're looking at it at pengenalan khat per se, and then it invites the anger of certain groups in the community that thought it is part of the institutionalized Islamization or assimilation of culture and other things. I think the very background of this is the mutual deficit of trust that exists in our community. I wouldn't blame those who are dissatisfied with, not only this issue but also other issues, that they presume anything that been done by the government or even by this new government or by the Minister of Education must have a secret agenda behind it. Ataupun kita sebut dalam bahasa Melayu, adanya udang di sebalik batu. Why this happen? Why this deficit of trust happen? Because a lot of malpractices of the previous government, from the financial issues until education and a lot of other things. They feel that Bahasa Melayu is bahasa kebangsaan, and whatever comes along with Bahasa Melayu is also part of bahasa kebangsaan and the national identity. Hence, they're thinking that Jawi is part of it. Or when Jawi is being written in a more calligraphic way, in a more beautiful way, is being known as khat in Kamus Dewan version 4. Okay. So they thought that, okay, everybody must embrace that. Yes, it's true. But again, are we ready to understand people that whatever we are trying to introduce or reintroduce must have an introduction first? Does everybody think the same? I don't think that's the case, because some people, when they're talking about bahasa kebangsaan, is about bahasa Melayu, and when they see Jawi or khat whatever, they thought there's something different from bahasa Melayu. Did we address this earlier? Number one. And how do we look at it? Are we looking at it as a warisan, as a heritage that we ought to be proud of, or are we looking at it as, it's something foreign? And for those who feel that that is our heritage, are we ready to have a healthy conversation with everybody else that don't think alike, that actually this is part of our heritage? Jadi perbincangan seperti itu tidak berlaku. Jadi yang datang ialah kita minta terus belajar khat dan sebagainya, dan ini menimbulkan perasaan macam saya katakanlah, the old reality is there, the old reality mentality is still there for them. Oh, ni kena impose because they have this Shariahization or Islamization agenda. Kan ni kita akan teruskan apa yang telah kita rancangkan. Cuma kita akan melakukan lebih banyak sesi libat urus, dan juga kita perlu lihat kepada kaedah pendekatan itu. Sebab macam saya katakan, kalaulah pelajar belajar bahasa Jawi dengan kita lihat perkara yang dekat dengan mereka, jatah negara, ringgit note, ataupun polis dekat lencananya sedia berkhidmat, ataupun jatah negeri masing-masing. Di jatah negeri masing-masing ada tulisan Jawi. Kalau mereka belajar kata, oh, ini contohnya lambang Pulau Pinang, ada tulisan Jawi. Pelajar-pelajar di Pulau Pinang rasakan, oh, ini bukan suatu benda yang asing, bukanlah Islamisation, tetapi sebahagian daripada mereka punya warisan, heritage, ataupun mereka belajar tentang ada di note ringgit. Ini bukan sesuatu yang asing, tetapi sesuatu yang dekat dengan diri mereka, kan? Jadi ini yang kita ingin bawa, iaitu melihat kepada khat ini ataupun Jawi sebagai sebahagian daripada warisan yang dekat dengan diri kita. Cuma yang saya lihat buku yang mereka ajarkan tu, dia mengajarkan sesuatu yang mungkin bagi para pelajar, ibu bapa tak boleh rasa nak relate dengan diri mereka. Jadi pada saya telah menasihati bahagian kurikulum untuk membuat pendekatan baru dan juga melakukan lebih banyak sesi libat urus dengan semua pihak yang berkepentingan.
There is a very interesting view that some is not opposing it, but there are things that actually Jawi script is not the earliest one. The earliest one is actually from the securies. So there's thing that they will the students should know about the earliest script.
Who knows about those earlier scripts? Nobody knows, and it's not written anywhere. Kalau you try to impose that, I think the whole Malaysia will against.
In the National Museum, it actually have the history about that.
I know, but who is using it now? Who is using it? Are you learning somebody that people not using it? This better. While Jawi, you can find it on Jata Negara, and you can find it on your one ringgit note. But all this prehistoric or whatever, who is using it? Academically is okay. Among professors, they're happy. But you're talking about a tiny minority of people who are enjoying this thing for academic purposes. But we are talking about our warisan kebangsaan. That people could see it every day. That people live with it. But without knowing that actually it's part of their culture, it's part of their heritage, and it should be something which does not only belong to one ethnicity or one group. It belong to the national to the nation as a whole. Agree that nobody should be imposed to master certain language that they feel alien to them. But if they are being imposed to learn national language, that a must. You just couldn't imagine a citizen who cannot appreciate and cannot converse at least the basic language of their country. But when it comes to Jawi, just like I mentioned earlier, first and foremost, it is there, but it's not compulsory for examination. Some people thought, kena examination ni teruk lah, kenapa? No. There's no examination going to be imposed on that particular things. And number two, we want to let them to be introduced to the Jawi thing that is not alien from them, that exists in their Jata Negara, that exists in their ringgit note, for them to appreciate and to know it, not for them to master it. But if they want to master it, that is the second level by their own choice. Nobody is going to force them to do so. And I know a lot of non-Malays who can write Jawi, who can read Jawi, and they learn by their own. Why? Because nobody forced them to do that. And even Malays are not forced to learn Jawi. Malays themselves, they're not forced to learn Jawi, but they are encouraged because that's part of their at least ethnic identity. But for majority Malaysians, the appreciation of things that is not alien from their life, things that is part of their heritage and part of their history, I think it's good for them to be introduced to.